Welcome to part 2 of the test 3 review. The next question is going to be given something like 5x plus y equals 44. You need to find 3 of the points. And they're going to give you something like if y equals 9, what is x? If x equals 0, what is y? And if x equals 2, what is y? So what you're going to do is, for the first one, just substitute the 9 in for y. And we will have 5x plus 9 equals 44. When we subtract the 9, we'll get 5x equals 35. Divided by 5, x equals 7. So for the first one, we'll have a 7. The next one, if we put a 0 in for x, we're going to get 5 times 0 plus y equals 44. 0 plus y is 44, or just y equals 44. Next, if we put a 2 in for x, it's going to be 5 times 2 plus y equals 44. So 10 plus y equals 44. Subtract the 10, y equals 34. Okay, next, you're going to be given something like negative 4x plus 12y equals negative 28. And you're going to need to give the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Now in these, you're going to need to do the full point, and so in as an ordered pair. So to solve for the y or the x-intercept, we're going to set y equal to 0. So negative 4x equals negative 28. And so x will equal 7. So the answer will be 7, 0. For the y-intercept, we're going to put 0 for x. So 12y equals negative 28. Divide both sides by 12, we'll get negative 28 over 12. We do need to simplify this. We can divide both of those numbers by 4. When we do that, we're going to get 7 over 3. If you want, on this one, you don't necessarily have to simplify it. If you left it as negative 28 over 12, I would still give you the points for it. Next type of question is if you have 2 points, say negative 5, 2, and 6, negative 8, what is the slope? So we're going to put it back into this point slope, or the slope form or equation. So 2 minus negative 8 over negative 5 minus 6. When we do that, 2 minus negative 8 is 10. Negative 5 minus 6 is negative 11. So the answer here would be negative 10 over 11. Let's say that we're given something like 7x minus 2y minus 14 equals 0, and we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. So the best way to do this would be to solve for y. So what I'm going to do is move my y over. So I'm going to have 7x minus 14 equals 2y. Divide everything by 2. So it's going to be y equals 7 over 2x minus 7. So the slope is just going to be 7 over 2. And the y-intercept will be 0, comma, negative 7, because the b is the y-intercept. Next, let's say we have something like y minus 3 equals 1. And what we need to do on this question is find the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing we need to do is solve for y. So y is 4. And it is in the y equals mx plus b form now. It's just that m, there's no x, so there's 0 x's. So the slope is 0, and the y-intercept is 4. Next, we're going to be given some where we actually have to draw the graphs. So let's say that we have 4y minus 20x equals negative 24. The way I would do this is to first change it into the slope-intercept form. So I'm going to add the 20. 4y equals 20x minus 24. Divide everything by 4. Y equals 5x minus 6. You can also substitute numbers in. If you were to substitute a 0 in for x, you would have 4y equals negative 24, or y equals negative 6. So 0, comma, negative 6. If you put a 1 in for x, you would have 4y minus 20 equals negative 24, or 4y equals negative 4, or y equals negative 1. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can either do this or this. Either way, your graph is going to be the same. If we do here, we know that our y-intercept is 6, or negative 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our slope is 5, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, because it's a positive 5. Draw the line in between, or through those, and we'll have the answer. That just happens to be what the 2 points that we solved here are as well. So either way you want to do it is fine. The next one will be something like y plus 4 equals 6. So we need to solve for y. So y equals 2 on this. It's going to go up 2, and it's going to be a horizontal line. Make sure that when you draw the graphs that you do put the arrows on both sides of the line, because it means that the line goes forever in those directions. If you don't put it, then it signifies that it's a line segment, and that's not exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so the next type of line will be something like x equals negative 3y, and we need to graph that. The easiest way to do this would just be to substitute a 0 in for y and then a 1 in for y. So a 0 and a 1. When we put a 0 for y, we're going to get x equals 0. When we put a 1 in for y, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. So here's 2 points. We go to negative 3, comma 1 will be a point, and 0, 0 will be a point. Draw the line through those, and we'll have the answer. Next, if you're giving something like y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. So it's already in the point, it's in the slope-intercept form. So our y-intercept is at 3, 1, 2, 3. And it says, because we have a negative, we're going to go down 1 from the 3 and then over 2. And that will be our graph. Next, you're going to be given some more square roots. So let's say we have square root of 7 times square root of 28. You can do this to make it easier. You can either say 7 times 28 and then try to find what the square root is, or if we divide this with the 7, we'll have square root of 7 times square root of 7 times 3, or times 4, sorry. And then if we want to, we can take the square root of the 4, which equals 2 times square root of 7 times square root of 7. Square root of 7 times square root of 7 is just 7, so it's 2 times 7, which equals 14. That's the easiest way to do that. If you did it the other way, you would get square root of 196, which is 14. This way is a lot easier if you don't have a calculator with you. The next one will be something like square root of 3 times square root of 15 plus square root of 3. You do the same thing there, change it to be square root of 3 times square root of 3 square root of 5 plus square root of 3. Now we can say square root of 3 times square root of 3 is just 3 square root of 5, and then plus square root of 3 times square root of 3 again is just 3. So that would be the answer there. We could also have said square root of 3 times square root of 15 is square root of 45, and then figured out that it was 3 square root of 5. Next, let's say you have square root of 11 plus 6, the whole thing squared. So this is just like we did in the chapter 10, where we can FOIL it, or we can do the shortcut. So we're going to square the first one, and then 2 times this, and then square the last one. So square root of 11 squared is just 11, plus 2 times 6 is 12 times square root of 11, plus 6 squared is 36. Now we need to combine like terms. 11 plus 36 is 47, and it's plus 12 square root of 11. Next, let's say that we have square root of 162 plus 6 square root of 50 minus 7 square root of 72. And we need to combine these. So let's look at the middle one, because that's the easiest. A perfect square that goes into 50 is 25, and it goes 2 times. So we're going to change this to be 25 times 2 minus 7. Now, let's just say, because we know that we can usually combine, how many times does 2 go into 72? It goes in 36 times, and 36 is a perfect square, so we're going to do it like that. Same thing here. We're going to say that it is 2 goes into 162 81 times, so 81 times 2. 81 is a perfect square. So now we can take the square root of 81, which is 9. We keep the square root of 2, plus 6 times square root of 25 is 5. We have the square root of 2. Minus 7, square root of 36 is 6 times square root of 2. Now we can multiply this and this. We'll have 9 square root of 2 plus 30 square root of 2 minus 42, 7 times 6, square root of 2. Now we can combine 9 plus 30 is 39, minus 42 is minus 3, or negative 3 square root of 2. The next question you'll have is something like square root of 140 over square root of 5. Since we can divide 140 by 5, we're going to do that, and we're going to get square root of 28. Square root of 28, a perfect square that goes into that is 4, and it goes in 7 times. So square root of 4 is 2, and we're left with square root of 7. Then let's say that you have square root of 81 over 10. We can't do anything with the square root of 10, so I'm going to break this up into square root of 81 over square root of 10. And we can do the square root of 81, which is 9 over square root of 10. But then we must rationalize the denominator by multiplying both numerator and denominator by the denominator. So we're going to multiply both top and bottom by square root of 10. And we're left with 9 square root of 10 over 10. Next, you're going to be given some triangles. So let's say you have a triangle where one side or one leg is 12 and the hypotenuse is 20. So you're going to have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 12 squared plus b squared equals 20 squared. 144 plus b squared equals 400. B squared is going to equal 256. When we take the square root of both sides, b will equal 16. Next, you'll have a triangle, something like with the two legs, 1 6 and 1 8. So if it has 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 64 equals c squared. 100 equals c squared. Take the square root of both sides. C equals 10. If you know this, 3, 4, 5, if you have multiples of 3, 4, and 5, like this one, this was 2 times 3, this was 2 times 4, then you'll know that this one is 2 times 5. The one I did before is the same way. This one is 4 times 5, this is 4 times 3, so this one will have to be 4 times 4, and that's 16. Another triangle that you may encounter is 1, 1, square root of 2. So no matter what, if you have two sides, two legs that are equal to each other, you're just going to multiply that number by square root of 2, and that'll be the hypotenuse. So if it was 2 and 2, this would be 2 square root of 2. If these were both 3, this would be 3 square root of 2. So that is what's on test 3. Go over and practice all the questions that I just did, and you'll do really well. The questions are just going to have a little, the numbers will just be a little bit different for everything, but everything is on the test is just like this.